we talked a little bit about self-care earlier in the show with Heather Garrett from Planet Botanics, but we wanted to go a little bit more in depth, and thankfully we have our next guest who is going to help us with some great advice. I'm joined by Denise Frenette. She is a life and business coach and natural health practitioner. Welcome, Denise. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
How would you describe healthcare? What words would you use to describe that?
Healthcare or
self-care?
Self-care.
Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
So because healthcare, that's a huge topic.
Let's not go there.
We'll
that's
need
a
more
political.
than 7 minutes.
That's a political bomb ready to
Let's keep this
explode right
light.
there. Thanks for correcting me, by the way.
It's funny. Self-care. It's unfortunate that we actually even have to have these conversations. Mm-hmm. But how I describe self-care is it's a lifestyle. So self-care, a lot of people often think, oh, well, let's just go get for a manicure or go away for a weekend in Montreal or who knows where. And it's to take care of ourselves. But self-care should be definitely looked more upon as the way you live your everyday life.
Right.
So that you don't have to wait for a crisis or for a breakdown or whatever it is to realize, geez, I should take care of myself a little bit more.
Yeah, man, that's a great way to put it, because I think when we think self-care, oh, I'm going to go to the spa, twice a year, and there's my self-care.
And that doesn't help.
No,
don't get me wrong.
No, it's enjoyable.
I love going shopping and spoiling myself, but that's what it is. Mm-hmm. It's spoiling yourself.
Right.
And that's cool, that's great, but when it's done, it's done.
So why do you think we struggle with self-care?
Well, I think it's, again, it's the question of lifestyle. And unfortunately, the way it is today, the way success is portrayed, and so, or what is a successful life, what makes you happy, is portrayed in a way I find that's a little bit sometimes deceiving. And so you've got to have the big house. You've got to have the nice clothes. You've got to go for skincare that costs a fortune, and so on and so forth. And all of these things are expensive. All of these things take time. All of this success, whether it's for a career, takes time, takes money, takes a lot. And I think sometimes people get lost in all of that.
Yeah.
And they lose, they forget about, like, to see what's really actually important.
Yeah, I agree.
And they lose themselves in all of that, which is unfortunate. And so I think the self-care thing that is happening right now is much needed.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, we're going about it the wrong way. So
I think we are.
Let's. We talked about some of the don'ts then of self-care. What are some of the do's? What would you recommend?
So again, self-care is extremely personal.
Right.
Everybody is different. We all have different hopes for our lives. We all have different lives, whether we are married, have kids, have pets, things like that. And so the do's are all about what it is that you need to be fulfilled, find peace, find happiness in the end run.
Yeah.
And so it's important to look at not just what's happening right now in your life, but what it is that you need to do ultimately to feel happy.
And how do you find that balance, Denise? I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is the balance between, I have all of these responsibilities, I have a family, and I have, relationships, whether it's a partner or friendships and family and so on. How do you find that balance where we don't feel guilty looking after ourselves?
Yeah. Well, first of all, find a good coach.
Right.
A good coach can help you with that.
Do you know one?
I don't know. No, I actually don't.
But you do. I mean, this is what you do for a living, right? You help people.
I do for a living, and I love what I do. And again, even people think it's splurging going to see a life coach. Mm-hmm. It isn't. It's important to be able to have someone who maybe is not related to you that you can speak with to find out what it is that is important to you. And so it is difficult, because you were saying it could get overwhelming, everything, all the demands.
Right.
And where do you find that balance? And I think, again, it's important to be able to find that balance is to question what it is that's important really to you. And there's different phases in life. There's times when your kids are the most important thing. And then when they grow up or whatever it is, or they don't need you as much, then your career or your marriage, and that changes. Your relationships, and it's supposed to change because that's part of life. And so I think what's important is to be able to take the time at least to say, okay, what's really important right now? Is it my health? Is it my family? What is it? Because you don't want to waste too much time focusing on things that might not lead to you being happy.
Yeah. You know what this relates to a little bit? My dad has always said this. You mentioned, seeing a life coach. That's investing in you. And it's like people complain it's too much and I know it's difficult times. I'm just saying for people that have the means even, it's a lot of money to join a gym membership,
That's right.
But you'll buy a $45,000 car. Right?
Bam.
I mean, which isn't an investment necessarily in you and your health and your mental and physical.
You'll spend how much on a pair of, I was shopping for flip-flops. I'm going on a trip. Okay. And there are flip-flops out there that cost $150, and there are flip-flops that cost $15. Okay, and I once splurged for my hubby and bought him a freaking pair of $100 flip-flops.
Okay.
And they hurt his feet. And then, of course, I couldn't even return it. So anyway, all that to say, people are often, they don't realize how much money they are wasting on things that aren't that really important or on a label, instead of saying, hey, what's more important? And that's it. So it's a choice. It's a choice you make. And sometimes you don't need 2 cars.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Imagine that.
I know.
Imagine not having 2 vehicles.
What are we going to do, Denise?
What are we going to do?
I'm just down to 10 seconds here. How do people get in touch with you?
Go on my website. It's my name, DeniseFrenette.com.
Excellent.
All the information's there.
Real pleasure sitting down with you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, invest in yourselves, everybody at home. We'll be back with more right after this.